I wasn't assigned to speak that night. I was assigned to disappear. The private section doesn't smell like food. It smells like power, clean leather, imported wine, the kind of silence that costs extra. 7 men sit around a table built for secrets, not comfort. The kind of room where powerful people relax because they believe the help is invisible. I'm pouring wine when I hear it. A single word. Spoken wrong. Not loud. Not obvious. But dangerous enough to start a war. The translator converts Korean to Mandarin, smooth and professional. Changes one verb tense. Shifts a guarantee into a maybe. The kind of mistranslation that gets people killed 3 weeks from now when a shipment doesn't arrive as promised. My hand tightens around the bottle. If I stay silent, someone dies later. Someone who trusted a handshake built on a lie. If I speak, I lose everything I've spent 6 years protecting. The translator finishes. The men nod. A $40 million deal balances on a misunderstanding. I don't raise my voice. That's not what he said. The room doesn't gasp, doesn't shout. It freezes. The kind of stillness that comes right before violence, or decisions that look like violence later. I set the bottle down. Steady hands. Controlled breathing. I repeat the correct translation in flawless Mandarin, then step back like I didn't just violate every rule of invisibility I've lived by. No one speaks. Then I feel it.
Wait.
Attention. Focused and unblinking. The man at the head of the table, the one who hasn't spoken all evening, is watching me now. Kang Seojun doesn't look angry. He looks interested. And I know, in that moment, that the quiet life I built, the one where I stay small, stay safe, stay forgotten, just ended. Because powerful men don't forget the people who speak when they are speaking. Comment, don't flinch, if this story is staying with you. Like if you believe the most dangerous people are the ones nobody sees coming. Subscribe for more high-stakes stories about hidden power, strategic survival, and people who refuse to play by rules they didn't agree to. I wasn't assigned to speak that night. I was assigned to disappear. The private section of the restaurant doesn't smell like food. It smells like money, clean leather, imported wine, the kind of silence that costs extra. 7 men sit around a table built for intimacy, not comfort. The kind of room where power relaxes because it believes nothing here can touch it. I'm pouring wine when I hear it. A single word. Spoken wrong. Not loud. Not obvious. But dangerous. The Korean delegate leans forward, speaking carefully. His translator, a nervous man in an expensive suit, nods along, converting each phrase into Mandarin for the Chinese businessman across the table. The rhythm is smooth. Professional.
Wrong.
My hand tightens around the bottle. The translator just changed a verb tense. Shifted will deliver into may consider delivering. A tiny alteration. The kind that turns a promise into a threat. The kind that gets people killed when the shipment doesn't arrive as guaranteed. I keep pouring. The Cabernet catches the light. If I stay silent, someone dies later. Someone who trusted a handshake built on mistranslation. If I speak, I lose this job. Maybe more. The translator finishes. The Chinese businessman smiles, but his eyes are calculating, measuring the gap between words and intent. He's heard the discrepancy too. He just doesn't know if it's deliberate. I don't raise my voice. That's not what he said. The room freezes. Not dramatically. Not with gasps or dropped silverware. Just stillness. The kind that precedes violence or decisions that look like violence later. I set the bottle down with control. Meet no one's eyes directly, but hold my posture.
Calm. Certain.
He said, "We'll deliver by Tuesday." Not may consider. The guarantee was explicit. I repeat the Korean delegate's exact words. Then the correct Mandarin translation. My accent is flawless, not because I'm showing off, but because precision matters when men like this are listening. The translator goes pale. The Korean delegate blinks once.
Slowly.
Then nods. The Chinese businessman leans back, tension draining from his shoulders. A deal just stayed intact. Blood just stayed off concrete. I finish pouring like I didn't just step over a line that wasn't meant to exist. No one speaks. Then I feel it.
Wait.
Attention. Focused and unblinking. The man at the head of the table, the one who hasn't spoken once all evening, is watching me now. Not angry. Not surprised. Interested. Kang Seojun doesn't move. Doesn't gesture. His expression remains perfectly neutral, the way expensive marble stays cool no matter what you place on it. But his eyes track me as I step back toward the kitchen door. And I know, in that moment, my quiet life just ended. Kang Seojun learns my name from the manager. Not by asking directly. That's not how men like him operate. He simply mentions, conversationally, like discussing the weather, that the service tonight was particularly attentive. The manager stammers through my employment details within 90 seconds. Naomi Carter, 27. 3 years at the restaurant. Reliable.
Quiet.
No disciplinary record. That's all the manager knows. It's not enough. I'm wiping down tables in the main dining area when I notice the second man. Not Kang Seojun. He left an hour ago in a black sedan that probably costs more than my yearly rent. This one is younger. Sharp suit. Sharper eyes. He sits alone near the window, nursing espresso that's gone cold, watching me work. He's not trying to hide it. That's what tells me he's good at this. Amateur surveillance tries to blend in. Professional surveillance wants you to know you're being watched.
Wants to see how you react.
Whether you panic.
Run. Make calls you shouldn't make.
I don't. I finish my shift. Clock out. Walk 3 blocks to the bus stop like I do every night. The second man doesn't follow. Someone else picks up the route. A woman this time, pretending to check her phone while maintaining visual contact. They're mapping my patterns. Learning my routine. I board the bus. Take my usual seat. Stare out the window at the city lights blurring past.
Most people would be terrified right now.
I'm just tired. Because I've done this before. Not here. Not with these people. But the shape of it is familiar. The sudden attention, the careful observation, the moment when staying invisible stops being an option. I walked away from a life once. Built something smaller. Safer. Boring by design. And Kang Seojun just noticed. At home, I check the locks twice. Peer through the blinds at the street below. The surveillance car is parked 4 spaces down. Dark sedan, engine off. 2 occupants barely visible in the front seats. They're not hiding anymore. My son, Elijah, is asleep. 6 years old. Believes his father died before he was born. Believes we moved here for my job. Believes the world is simpler than it actually is. I need to keep it that way. I pull out my phone. No unknown calls. No messages. But there's something else. My work schedule for next week has changed. I'm assigned to the private section again. 3 consecutive nights. That's not a coincidence.
Kang Seojun wants something.
And until I know what, every choice I make could be the wrong one. I set the phone down. Pour myself water. I don't drink. Sit in the dark living room where I can see the street without being seen. The surveillance car doesn't move. Neither do I. Because the most dangerous part isn't being watched. It's waiting to find out why. The file on Kang Seojun's desk is thin.
Too thin.
Naomi Carter, 27. Single mother. Current address, a modest apartment in a neighborhood that's safe enough, but unremarkable. Employment history, 3 years at the restaurant, 2 years before that at a bookstore, scattered service jobs before that. Education, G. No college listed. No criminal record. No debt beyond manageable credit cards. No social media presence worth mentioning, a dormant Facebook account with no posts since 2019, privacy settings locked down. On paper, Naomi Carter is aggressively normal. But Kang Seojun didn't build an empire by accepting what's on paper. She speaks 4 languages fluently, his head of security, Ji-hoon, reports. Korean, Mandarin, French, and English. The Korean was native level. Not textbook. Not Duolingo. She learned it by living it. Where? That's the problem. Ji-hoon taps the file. There's a gap. 3 years between high school graduation and her first documented job. No travel records we can access. No college transcripts. No employment. Just nothing. Kang Seojun studies the surveillance photos spread across his desk. Naomi leaving work. Naomi at the bus stop. Naomi unlocking her apartment door while a small boy waits behind her. In every image, her posture is the same. Upright. Controlled. Aware of her surroundings without obvious paranoia. She noticed the tail. Ji-hoon adds quietly. When? Night 1. She didn't run or panic. Just adjusted. Changed nothing about her routine, but her awareness shifted. She knows we're watching. Most people break under surveillance. They make mistakes. Call the wrong person. Pack a bag. Do something that reveals what they're hiding. Naomi Carter went to work. Picked up her son from the neighbor. Made dinner. Read him a bedtime story. Perfect normalcy performed with perfect discipline. What about the father? Kang Seojun asks. No birth certificate filed in this state. The boy, Elijah Carter, lists father as unknown. We're checking other states, but it's like she appeared here fully formed 6 years ago with a newborn and a work history that doesn't quite connect. Kang Seojun closes the file. People don't vanish for 3 years and reappear smaller unless they're running from something. Or someone. And people who can simultaneously correct high-stakes mistranslations and avoid leaving digital footprints aren't waitresses by accident. They're waitresses by choice. Keep the surveillance light, he instructs. I want to know who she calls, where she goes on her days off. But don't crowd her. She's already adapting. Ji-hoon nods and leaves. Kang Seojun opens the file again. Studies the photo of Naomi at the bus stop, streetlight catching the angle of her jaw, the control in her expression. She corrected a translation that could have collapsed a deal worth 40 million. Did it without asking permission, without fear. And now she's pretending none of it happened. Which means Naomi Carter is either the most dangerous person he's encountered this year, or the most valuable. He needs to know which. I don't wait for him to approach me. That's the mistake people make with men like Kang Seojun. They wait. Let him choose the moment, control the setting, dictate the terms. They think patience is strategy. It's not. It's surrender. So on the third night of my reassigned shift, when the private section empties and he remains alone at the table, I don't leave. I pour myself a glass of water from the service station, walk back into the room, pull out the chair across from him, and sit. His security moves immediately, 2 men materializing from shadows I knew they were hiding in. Kang Seojun raises one hand. They stop. Don't retreat, but don't advance. He's curious.
Good.
You've been watching me for 6 days, I say. My voice is calm. Not accusatory. Just factual.
Dark sedan.
Rotating surveillance. 3 different people on the tail. You know where I live. Where my son goes to school. What time I buy groceries. Kang Seojun doesn't deny it. Doesn't apologize. Just watches me with that same unnervingly still attention. So here's what I need to know. I continue. Are you planning to hurt me? Threaten me? Buy me? Silence. I take a sip of water. Let him sit with the question. Because if you're planning to hurt me, you would have done it already. You don't waste 6 days on surveillance for violence. You just act. If you're planning to threaten me, you would have sent someone else. Men like you don't deliver threats personally unless they've already failed. His expression doesn't change, but something shifts behind his eyes. Recognition, maybe. Or recalculation. That leaves buying me, I say. Which means you want something. Information. Silence. Leverage.
I don't know yet.
But I need you to say it out loud. Why? It's the first word he's spoken directly to me since the mistranslation. His voice is quieter than I expected. No edge. No performance. Because I've been watched before, I answer honestly. And the not knowing is worse than the knowing. So, if you're going to disrupt my life, at least tell me why. Kang Seojun leans back slightly. Studies me like I'm a puzzle he's still assembling. You corrected a translation that saved $40 million and prevented a gang war, he says finally. You speak languages that don't appear anywhere in your employment history. You live small, but move like someone trained to see threats before they materialize. He pauses. I want to know who you are. Not what I know. Not what I can do. Who I am. The question lands differently than I expected. That's all. I ask. For now. I stand. Push the chair back in with care. Then ask me questions. Stop following my son to school. Stop sitting outside my apartment at 2 a.m. If you want answers, Kang Seojun, ask like a person, not a predator. I walk toward the door. And if I don't, his voice follows me. I pause. Don't turn around. Then you'll keep watching someone who's very good at staying boring. And we'll both waste time we don't have. I leave before he can respond. Outside, my hands are shaking. But he doesn't know that. Kang Seojun arrives at my apartment 3 days later. Not with security. Not in a sedan that screams power. He walks up the front steps alone, wearing dark jeans and a sweater that probably still costs more than my rent, but looks almost normal. I open the door before he knocks. You said ask like a person, he says. I also said stop following my son. I did. 2 days ago. I study his face. He's not lying. I step aside. Let him in. The apartment is small. Clean. Everything in its place because chaos isn't something I can afford. Elijah is sitting at the kitchen table, coloring with the focused intensity only 6-year-olds possess. He looks up when Kang Seojun enters. Who's that? Elijah asks me. Someone I work with. I answer carefully. Kang Seojun stops just inside the doorway. Not advancing. Not crowding. His entire posture has changed, looser, less controlled. Like he's trying to make himself smaller in a space that isn't built for men like him. Elijah studies him with the unfiltered curiosity of childhood. Do you have kids? Elijah asks. No. Why not? My work doesn't leave much time. Elijah considers this. Returns to his coloring. Then, without looking up, are you a bad man? The room goes still. I move instinctively, ready to intervene, redirect, protect. But Kang Seojun doesn't deflect, doesn't smile it away or change the subject. He crouches down, slowly, until he's at eye level with my son. That's a good question, he says quietly. Elijah looks at him now. Really looks. Do bad men know they're bad? Elijah asks. And Kang Seojun, a man who commands violence with a nod, who built an empire on fear and control, who hasn't hesitated at a decision in 15 years. Hesitates. I don't know, he says finally. And the honesty in his voice cracks something open in the room. Elijah nods, satisfied with an answer that isn't an answer. Returns to his drawing. But I see it. The way Kang Seojun's hands aren't quite steady when he stands. The way he won't meet my eyes immediately. Like a door just opened inside him that he didn't know existed. He asked me that once. I say quietly, moving to the kitchen. 2 years ago. After he saw a man yell at a woman outside our building. I told him bad men usually think they're good men making hard choices. Kang Seojun finally looks at me. And what did he say? He asked how you tell the difference. Silence stretches. Outside, traffic hums. Inside, Elijah hums a song I don't recognize. I don't have a good answer, I admit. Neither do I. And for the first time since this started, I see Kang Seojun not as a crime lord or a threat, but as a man who just realized he might not know himself as well as he thought. The rules just changed. For both of us. Chapter 6. Weakness has a witness. Park Min-jae notices the change during the Thursday briefing. Kang Seojun arrives 7 minutes late. Unprecedented. His attention drifts during the financial reports. And when Min-jae recommends eliminating a rival's lieutenant who's been encroaching on territory, Seojun doesn't immediately agree. He hesitates. Do we have confirmation he's acting with his boss's knowledge? Seojun asks. Does it matter? Min-jae keeps his tone neutral. Professional. But he's cataloging every detail. It matters if we're starting a war over a rogue actor. This isn't how Kang Seojun operates. He doesn't second-guess. Doesn't qualify violence with ethical distinctions. He assesses risk and acts. But now he's considering. Min-jae glances at Ji-hoon, the head of security. Ji-hoon's expression reveals nothing, but his silence speaks volumes. I'll get confirmation, Min-jae says. Before we move. Seojun nods.
Dismisses them.
Outside the office, Min-jae stops Ji-hoon in the hallway. How long has he been like this? Like what? Distracted. Hesitant. Min-jae lowers his voice. Weak. Ji-hoon's jaw tightens. Be careful with that word. I'm being observant. There's a difference. Min-jae studies Ji-hoon's face. It's the waitress, isn't it? The one from the translation incident. Ji-hoon doesn't answer. Which is an answer. He went to her apartment. Min-jae continues. Alone. No security. I had someone nearby who saw him. He stayed 40 minutes. That's not your concern. When it affects his judgment.
It is.
Min-jae adjusts his cufflinks, an old tell when he's calculating. People notice when a king stops acting like a king. They start wondering if someone else should be sitting on the throne. Is that a threat? It's a warning.
To you.
And to him. Min-jae starts walking again. Loyalty isn't unconditional, Ji-hoon. It's earned, maintained. And right now, he's testing limits that shouldn't be tested. Ji-hoon watches him disappear down the hallway. Then, he pulls out his phone. Sends a single text to Seojun. We need to talk. Privately. That night, Park Min-jae sits in his car outside Naomi Carter's apartment building. He doesn't approach. Doesn't make contact. Just watches. The lights are on in her window. He can see movement, her shadow passing by, efficient and controlled even in her own space. Kang Seojun spent 40 minutes in there. Whatever happened changed something fundamental. Min-jae doesn't believe in sentiment. He believes in leverage. And Naomi Carter just became the most valuable leverage in the city. His phone buzzes. 3 contacts responding to his earlier messages. A meeting tomorrow. Off books. People who've also noticed the shift in Seojun's behavior. People who understand that empires fall from the inside, not the outside. People who are starting to wonder if it's time for new leadership. Min-jae starts the engine. Naomi Carter's lights go out. And in the darkness, a plan begins to take shape. I hear it before it happens. Not the gunshot that comes later. I hear the silence first. The absence of sound where sound should be. Kang Seojun's building has ambient noise. Always. Traffic from the street below. The hum of the HVAC system. Footsteps from security rotating shifts. But tonight, standing in his penthouse kitchen making tea he didn't ask for, I noticed the silence. The kind that comes right before violence. Get down. I don't yell it. My voice stays level, controlled. But Seojun hears the certainty and drops behind the kitchen island without question. 3 seconds later, the window explodes. Glass rains across marble floors. The bullet embeds in the wall where Seojun's head was. I'm already moving, pulling him toward the interior hallway, away from sightlines, counting exit routes I memorized the first time I came here. How did you? He starts. Later. 2 more shots. Different angle. Second shooter. They're bracketing the penthouse, eliminating cover. Professional setup. I pull out my phone. Not to call 911, that takes too long. I call Ji-hoon directly. Your boss is under fire. Penthouse. 2 shooters, maybe more. Roof access is compromised. Who is?
Naomi.
Listen. Park Min-jae cleared the security rotation tonight. Check the logs. He's your inside man. I hang up. Meet Seojun's eyes in the darkness. How long have you known? He asks quietly. I didn't. Not for certain. I glance toward the shattered window. But I've been watching him watch you. The way predators watch wounded prey. And tonight, your regular security detail called in sick. All of them. Simultaneously. You predicted this. I recognized the pattern. I moved to the interior door. Check the hallway. Empty, but that won't last. People who want power don't just take it. They isolate first. Remove witnesses. Create vulnerability. Seojun's expression shifts. Not fear, but something rawer. Recognition of how close he came. We need to move, I say. Stairwell is compromised. they'll expect the elevator. Service entrance through the kitchen, there's a secondary exit. How do you know my building's layout? Because I pay attention to things that keep people alive. We move quickly. Behind us, I hear voices, shouting, coordination. Minji's people realizing their target survived. In the service corridor, Seojun catches my wrist. You saved my life. Not yet, I answer. That happens when we're outside. But something passes between us in that moment. An understanding that can't be unsaid. I didn't save him because I work for him, or because I'm afraid of him. I saved him because I chose to. And that choice just made me the most dangerous person Park Min-jae has ever faced. The recordings start leaking at dawn. Not everywhere. Not dramatically. Just small drops of information appearing in places that matter. Financial databases. Law enforcement tips. Anonymous emails to journalists who specialize in organized crime. Park Min-jae's voice, clear and damning. Seojun's distracted.
Weak.
When a king stops acting like a king, Kang Seojun sits in Ji-hoon's safe house, watching his empire dismantle itself in real time. Not through violence. Through truth. Where did you get these? He asks me. I'm standing by the window, phone in hand, watching alerts populate. Each one a carefully placed detonation. I didn't, I answer. You did. His confusion is genuine. 3 weeks ago, you started questioning decisions. Hesitating on orders that used to be automatic. Your organization noticed. So I started paying attention to who noticed most. I turned to face him. Park Min-jae held 7 meetings in the last 10 days. Off books. With people positioned to replace you. He was careful, but not careful enough. He assumed you were the only threat. But you recorded him. I didn't need to. I pull up another file on my phone. He recorded himself. Sent encrypted messages. Made calls from secure lines. All of it traceable, if you know what you're looking for. Ji-hoon leans forward. You hacked his communications? I worked for intelligence contractors for 3 years before I disappeared. The words come out flat. Factual. When you spend that long learning how powerful people hide things, you get very good at finding them. The room goes silent. Kang Seojun stares at me like he's seeing someone else. Someone I used to be. The gap in your history, he says slowly. The missing 3 years. I worked for people who made problems disappear. Then I became one of those problems. I set my phone down. So I disappeared myself. Why? Because I was good at it. Too good. And the work stopped having rules. My voice doesn't waver. When they asked me to eliminate a target who turned out to be a journalist investigating corruption, I said no. That's not a word they accept easily. So you ran. I survived. I meet his eyes. And I've been surviving quietly ever since. Until you decided to dig. Seojun stands. Moves toward me slowly, like approaching something fragile that might shatter. The recordings, he says. You're not just leaking them. You're choosing where they go. Prosecutors. Journalists. Rival organizations. I list them calmly. By noon, Park Min-jae will be more liability than asset. His allies will distance themselves. Your uncle's people will scramble to prove they weren't involved. You're destroying my organization from the inside.
No.
I hold his gaze. I'm giving you a choice. Let it burn and walk away clean. Or try to hold it together and become the next target. His phone buzzes.
Once. Twice.
10 times in rapid succession. That's them, I say quietly. Asking what you want to do. How to respond. Kang Seojun looks at the phone. Then at me. Then he makes a decision that will end everything he's built. He turns the phone off. Let it burn. 6 months later, I find Kang Seojun in a bookstore. Not the kind that sells bestsellers. The kind with narrow aisles and dust and books stacked in piles because the owner ran out of shelving 20 years ago. He's sitting in the back corner, reading something with a worn cover, and he doesn't notice me until I sit down across from him. You changed your name, I say. So did you. 3 times if my research was accurate. It was. We sit in comfortable silence. Outside, the city moves without knowing or caring that a criminal empire collapsed quietly, systematically, through exposure rather than violence. Park Min-jae is in federal custody. Seojun's uncle accepted a plea deal. The organization fractured into pieces too small to rebuild. And Kang Seojun, the man who commanded all of it, disappeared. I got a job, he says, almost shy. Translating legal documents. Korean to English. It doesn't pay much. But it's honest. It's honest. Elijah is at school. I have 2 hours before pickup. I work mornings now at a community center teaching ESL classes. The pay is terrible. The work matters. I've been thinking about what Elijah asked me, Seojun says. About bad men knowing they're bad. Did you find an answer? I think bad men know. They just convince themselves the alternative is worse. He closes the book. I convinced myself control was survival. That mercy was weakness. That the only way to protect anything was to own everything. And now I don't own anything.
He looks at me.
And I've never felt safer. Something shifts in my chest. Not romance, not exactly. Something quieter. More fundamental. You never needed me to save you. I say slowly. You needed permission to stop. Seojun's smile is soft.
Real.
I think I needed to see someone refuse to be owned. And survive it. He pauses. You were never the victim in this story, Naomi. Neither were you. No. You were a man trapped in a life he built because he didn't know other lives were possible. I lean back. I just showed you the exit. You walked through it yourself. Outside, someone laughs. A child runs past the window. Life continues, indifferent to the weight of what was just said. Elijah asked about you last week. I mentioned casually. Wanted to know if the man who answered his question ever found his answer. What did you tell him? That some people need longer to figure out who they are. I stand. But that doesn't mean they can't. I start to leave. Seojun's voice stops me. Same time next week? I pause. Look back. Same time. Because this isn't a story about being saved. It's not about power or danger or crime. It's about 2 people who learned to walk away from the lives they thought they needed. And found something more honest on the other side. No empire. No protection. No illusion. Just choice. And for the first time in both our lives, that's enough. So, what did you think? Did Naomi make the right choice? Did Seojun earn his redemption? Drop your honest thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. If this story moved you, hit that like button. It helps more people find stories like this.
And subscribe.
Because there are more stories coming about people who refuse to be owned, who choose honesty over power, who survive by being smarter, not louder. Thanks for staying until the end. That means something.